Hello everyone. Hello? Okay, that was nice. That was kind. It doesn't always happen, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm new here to Nashville. I just moved here this year. It's been fun. Thanks. Hold the applause. No, appreciate that. Very nice southern welcome there. I appreciate that. But I moved here from New York City, and I had to get used to living in the South. Things are a little bit different down here, especially the way we handle COVID. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but like, I don't know, it's just a little bit different. It took some adjustment, right? Like when the Delta variant was kind of kicking up the other week, I called a friend back in New York City and I said, hey, how are things back in New York? And she was like, oh my God, it's so intense. Like we've recently had somebody from the New York State Health Department show up at my front door and they told me I might have been exposed to COVID. And I was like, wow, that's really intense. It's very overbearing. She was like, yeah, what's it like in Nashville? And I was like, oh my God, it's almost like the exact same thing. Like we recently just shut down our biggest COVID testing site and replaced it with bleachers for a NASCAR event. Sorry, CDC, you can't give us NASCAR, then take it away, you know? The boys will get mad, you know? January 6th, part 2, you know? Can't do that. January 12th, I think, is actually what that math makes it become. But, so I moved to New York 9 years ago. I moved to New York 9 years ago because I got hired as a page, The Late Show with David Letterman. And then very quickly I found out, like most of our dreams, it didn't pay anything. So I ended up taking the first second job that came my way and ended up working at a gay sports bar. Thank you. Some of you had the same reaction my father had when I told him. Just silence and nods on the phone. But I was a busboy, so my job was to grab all the empty glasses, put them into a bucket. I ran that bucket down a flight of stairs. I washed those glasses, put them back in the bucket. Then I hoist that bucket above my head, and I run up a flight of stairs. Now that I'm stretched out, y'all can see I'm not a strong man. Like I'm built like a 1940s recreational swimmer. You know, I'm made for speed, not strength. And I'm from a small town in Maryland. Like, to give you an idea what my town was like growing up, the guy in high school with the coolest car had a PT Cruiser. Yeah, and my first day at the gay bar, it was RuPaul's Drag Race season finale. Right, so I hadn't had a lot of life experiences yet, right? So my first day when I walked in, it was wall-to-wall drag queens. It was like the first time I heard Cardi B. I just walked in, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I like it. So I'm running around, grabbing all the glasses, going upstairs, cleaning, going upstairs. And there's this one girl that was always in my way. Like, you know the drunk girl at the bar that you can't figure out what group she's with? She's just kind of floating in everybody's way. You know, she's just like, I'm here. I haven't met a half of my drinks. Well, she was in my way, and all of a sudden I felt my arm start shaking, and I realized my strength's about to fail me. I'm about to drop 40 pounds of glass in her head. And that's when one of the drag queens saw that I was in peril and yelled across the entire bar, excuse me, miss. Get out of that boy's way. But then another drag queen stepped up and was like, honey.
Oh, thank you.
That's not a boy. That's a man. So no, I'm just standing there like, I am a man. But I got fired. I ended up getting fired, but the GM pulled me aside. He was like, hey, so the owners found out you're not gay, and they just were like, what are you doing here? I was like, honestly, it was the only job that hired me based on my bone structure, so sorry if you feel tricked, but I have felt used from time to time. Also, everyone tips very, very well. So. Nashville's been great so far. I got the vaccine. Anyone else here trying out the medical miracle known as the vaccine? You guys try this out? 6 of us? That sounds good. All right, that's fun. But I get it. I understand. Like, I got the Pfizer vaccine. It's the FDA approved one, which it wasn't at the time, but you know, we can't all be heroes, right? But I got the vaccine. I understand why some people are hesitant, right? Like side effects. That was what everyone was talking about, right? Like, are there side effects? Are there no side effects? We don't know, right? And I think I might have had a side effect after my second dose. And I don't want to spread disinformation. I just want to put this out there in case someone here in the room can maybe relate to me, and then we can like maybe put a piece of literature together and send it to proper authorities, you know, right? But is one of the side effects having an absolute dump truck ass, or is Daddy just getting thick up here? just Just me and Fauci and this guy. But I don't know, I got the vaccine and I had sex. Not like immediately afterwards. I wasn't like, thanks doc, now bend over, you know? Like, you plug me, I plug you. That's how it goes. No, I felt comfortable dating again, you know, so I started putting myself back out there and I had a date that went pretty well and we ended up having sex and she gave me a compliment afterwards, I think. I don't know, I'll let you all be the judge. So we finished up. Which is the only way in how to describe what happens there. And based on your overall silence, I feel like I can explain that to some of you. But we finished up, and and she looks over at me and she goes, you know, I've never orgasmed during sex before. And I almost did that time. Hey, look, I was a pretty good student growing up, but that's the happiest I've ever been to get a B+. My entire life. Next, I'll do some extra credit, make that A. Get my father proud. But I don't know, I left New York in January of 2020. I went on my first nationwide comedy tour. I was going from New York to LA, then back, and then I got as far as Indianapolis in March, and then the entire country shut down. I ended up spending 9 months with my parents in my hometown of Hagerstown, Maryland. I almost been drunk for the entire existence of a pregnancy. Just me and my parents? All right. But it was tough being with my parents last year. Last year, a very emotional year. You know, I'm a very emotional person. To give you an idea how emotional I am, I was in Denver doing a show recently, and I found out that I was going to see a dog that I used to dog sit for in Brooklyn, and when I found that information out, I just started crying immediately. Just crying in a taco shop in Denver. And also, the dog moved with his parents. It wasn't like a reverse homeward bound situation. They texted me, the dog didn't text me. But I don't know, it was a very emotional year. My mom, she's a very emotional person. I'm a very emotional person. We can connect to each other. My dad, not so much. Right? Like, to give, like, okay, so my dad, like, this one time I went through a life-shattering breakup. You ever try one of these out? No one? All right, just a bunch of perfect people, a bunch of Jake Gyllenhaals out here. Right. Well, your time's coming up, all right? Taylor Swift's about to spill some tea, so those eyes, that hair, it can't last that long, all right? But I went through this life-shattering breakup, and it's very interesting to see how much time or how little time my mom and dad were willing to give me to get over said breakup. Like, even now, sometimes my mom calls me. She's like, hey, how you doing? You holding up all right? I want you to know I followed her on Instagram. I was like, brave. So brave, Mom. Thank you. My dad was different. My dad gave me 3 weeks. He gave me 3 weeks over a 4-year relationship that I thought was going to end in marriage. He overheard my mom and I talking about it one day, and he cut us off, and he was like, hey! We still talking about this shit? Get over it already. Move on. And I was like, Dad, you know, like, it's so hard. Like, she was my best friend. And he was like, you want to hear something? I married my best friend, and she barely talks to me. My mom was like, well, maybe if you accepted my Facebook friend request. But look, my dad's Facebook, there's no picture, it's just a generic gray logo. It says Bill with no last name, and then it says married to Beverly Abeles, but she's not tagged because they're not friends on Facebook. Like, it's the only account that'll never be hacked. Like, even the Russians are like, is this ours? This is terrible. We can't use this. Guys, I've been Will Abeles. Thank you so much. You've been so much fun.
Everybody!